just talking.
Because we are uncool. I don't believe in guilty pleasure.
A choice right now between fear and love.
Welcome back to Empower the Audience. I'm here with Chris, Movie Guy 84, and we are here to talk to you. And I will now get my list up to see what we're here to talk about. Oh yes, the movie that I have been waiting for longer than anyone else in my household, because I listen to a podcast called Twit by Leo Laporte, and he has been talking to and interviewing the author of this book called The Martian. Just to give you a little background, this guy was a coder who always wanted to be a writer, a novelist. He wisely just started putting chapters of this book up on a website, a blog, and people started reading it, started loving it. It became published and a bestseller, and I believe it was within 2 or 3 years, Matt Damon is starring in a Ridley Scott movie called The Martian. So I was waiting for this for a while because I didn't read the book. Unfortunately, I never was able to get around to doing it. But I'm glad I got to see the movie because it delivered for sure. What do you think, Chris?
Definitely. Yeah, since I saw the first trailer for the movie, I had been interested in it. I never knew it was a book or anything before. But, yeah, I mean, it reminded me a little bit of Galaxy, but on Mars. Of just randomly in space, but
Galaxy? What do you mean?
Is that what that was called?
No, Gravity.
Gravity.
Yeah.
That's why you looked at me. I was like,
No. I thought I was with you, but I was realizing I was making sure I was right because you know other movies too.
Yeah, Gravity, and I love that movie. I don't think this one was as nerve-wracking as Gravity, but it definitely had some really great tense moments, and I think it was all definitely driven by Matt Damon being just a really good, likable character. And I think if we didn't have that in that movie, it wouldn't have been as, you wouldn't have cared as much. And it's kind of a long movie, so
yeah, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you what you're saying. In fact, my wife is saying Elaine said the same thing, that she wouldn't have cared if it hadn't been an actor like as charismatic and empathetic as Matt Damon. So I think that two good comparisons are Gravity, which was just a nail biter. That was just crazy. We actually saw that in IMAX. We had that. I never go for the extra ticket price, especially not for 3D. But for that one, we kind of had to because it was pretty epic. We didn't. I don't think we saw it 3D, but we definitely saw it IMAX. This one we did not see in either, but I think it was okay that we didn't. What he said about not nail biter is definitely true. And I think what happens is there's so much comedy in it that it lightens that mood a lot. Then you care for them because you've gotten to know and laugh with them. That the intense scenes are definitely intense, but it's not. The goal is suspense. So I've heard this described as Robinson Crusoe on Mars. So the other film that I would compare this to is Castaway. And again, Castaway was way more of a drama than this one was too. So I like that there was comedy into it. To me, it's like I like intense drama, but in this kind of setup where you're basically a one-man show for part of it, it's rough when all you have is just this kind of dramatic thing and pain and all the kind of stuff Tom Hanks went through in that movie. I can't really watch that movie anymore because it's just too intense and you feel so bad for him. The nice thing about this too is it's not just a guy stuck on a planet. There, you get to see everyone involved. You get to see the guys at NASA, like the people from the top all the way to the crew people. You really get to see that in an intimate way, not just there's the control room like you've seen in every other movie or miniseries about NASA, which I've seen, From the Earth to the Moon, which Tom Hanks did. That's a really great one. I highly advise it. But you get to see what it really portrays is the struggle of NASA, the struggle that they have budgetary concerns, it goes into that, which is, something I'm sure if you know anything about NASA, and especially if you live in this state, which is Florida, then you definitely know that there are budgetary concerns and the fact that people seem to not care about NASA anymore, and they really have to fight to keep it going, so much so that billionaires are now investing in going into space privately. So, but yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. As I'm watching it, I was like, okay, the Marvel universe is represented on this crew. We've got Susan Storm. We've got Ant-Man's best friend, Michael Pena. And then Winter Soldier, that's the other one. I didn't recognize him at first because I think you saw him with the mask on, or but there's something about how he was filmed at the beginning. I think it was because he had the big the helmet, or whatever you call that thing, whatever the space term is for that. So I knew I recognized him, but wasn't sure that it was him. So, yeah. So that was kind of a funny little nerdy moment there. But anyways, I just can't recommend it more. It's a good old-fashioned, all-American fun movie. Your parents can go to it, your grandparents, and that shouldn't be a lack of endorsement. It's actually everybody, I think, can enjoy this, from the nerdiest nerd all the way up, because it is a science movie. If you're a nerd, and even if you appreciate science, not even like scientists, you will appreciate this, because the thing about this author is he went to the scientists and said, give me your best guess about how he would survive. So it's researched as much as he could, and so that's why it really feels authentic. It never feels like, oh, okay, that's Hollywood. It really feels authentic because they actually explain the science, not in a boring way, not in a classroom chalkboard way, but anyways, it's really great. Highly recommend it. And anything more you want to say on that? Or is there anything else that you noticed about it?
There are some surprising supporting performances in there. Donald Glover showed up.
Donald freaking Glover made that movie. I'm telling you. Now, we're big Community fans in this household, and we miss him on Community because he's no longer on it. He decided to be a hip-hop artist, which didn't really make a lot of sense even after we heard the music. But, man, he literally is in it for maybe 10 minutes total, I think.
Probably.
But he owned the nerdy scientist so well. Just literally being in his own, but also comedically, it was so good.
Yeah.
Speaking of casting, because I should bring that up, I'll be writing more about this in my review, but unfortunately, the only negatives was there's a couple of missteps in casting. I really dig Sean Bean, of course, Boromir, and even going back to GoldenEye. He was the villain in GoldenEye.
Yeah.
He's a great actor, but I think he was really miscast in this. You really have to have someone who could feel like a coach to be. He's the flight crew guy, like the head of the flight crew, and he just didn't. You never felt that connection. Not that they needed to actually be, because they never are together until later. Let me just put it that way. But you don't see like the beginning of the crew thing. It actually happens during the mission. But I just didn't feel that, or they didn't give him the opportunity to do it. Maybe it's more on the director, but that, and then Jeff Daniels. Sorry,
Yeah.
recognize his name. He, as a great actor, I loved him in Newsroom. I've written a review in Newsroom. I love it. Recommend it to everybody. It's great. Other people just came home. Those other weird people that live here. But I just thought it just didn't work. It wasn't, and it might not have been the performances. It might have been they could have given them more to do. Either that's the
I kind of felt like he wasn't necessarily like a villain, but he's the guy that runs NASA.
Yeah.
I mean, I forgot his title, but he's basically the guy that runs NASA. So a lot of things have to go past him, and he has to okay a lot of stuff. But he's looking at everything at a business standpoint, and they're like, this is happening. This is what we should do, or this is what the team would do, and he doesn't really care. He's looking at numbers and their image to the public, And it was kind of weird seeing him in that kind of role.
I think he would have been better in the Sean Bean role, actually, now that I think about it.
Because he can do charismatic very
He's
well.
really charismatic and empathetic, and you see him trying to make these business decisions. And granted, anybody who would be in that position would care about the people on their thing. It was not that they need to be some mustache-twirling villain.
Yeah.
But you needed somebody with a little bit more edge in that. Kind of the opposite of what we said about John Connor in the Terminator movie, where you just see that guy from the beginning and he's the villain. This one, I think it needed. You could have even maybe flipped them. Yeah. If you flipped Sean Bean, because Sean Bean's got a little bit of edge to him. But anyways, so it's kind of nitpicking because it didn't ruin the movie for me because they were secondary characters for sure, and maybe even tertiary characters. I like that word. It's fun. But. Yeah, so definitely can't recommend it higher. I've been watching quite a few movies now since I got my movie pass. Thank you, Chris, for turning me on to that. Yeah. But that was the first one in a while that I was really jazzed to see, and it delivered on it. It was really good stuff. So, speaking of stuff that I've seen recently that I wasn't really jazzed about, let's talk just a brief minute about Black Mass. Now, this is the story of Whitey Bulger, a FBI informant in Boston, Massachusetts, and it's played by Johnny Depp, and I have nothing against any actor in this movie, and this is a really nitpick, but his contact lenses drove me crazy in this movie. It sounds like it's not worth talking about, but there was something about it. They could have made it was distracting. Everybody in the movie was giving good performances, didn't mind that. But that one little nitpick I won't make. And it's so funny because I had the same problem in Into the Woods where it was like his costume. So I don't know what it is about that, but whatever. The performances were solid in this movie. I had no idea Benedict Cumberbatch was going to be Whitey Bulger's brother in this because I hadn't done a lot of research. This was like a last-minute decision at the theater. But it was an okay movie. As crime movies go, it's a fairly standard crime movie. There's not a lot of stuff, and when I thought about it, I was actually talking to Chris about it on the way out of Martian. It seemed like it lacked focus because it really was about the FBI agent who brought him in as an informant, but it was also a lot about Whitey. So I think they should have picked one to more dominate the picture, and it just this kind of stuff happens, and you don't think about it until later, I guess. But it just seems to actually it draws the power out of it. If you don't have a good, strong focus in a movie, especially a character, it can just kind of like literally deflate the whole thing. So that was my problem with Black Mass. Nothing against the characters. I'm sure people that are into crime movies probably like it. I'm not into crime movies. This was just kind of a so-so one for me. Okay, and Chris saw Hotel Transylvania 2. I haven't seen the first one, nor this one. So let us know about what's going on in Transylvania, Chris.
Yeah, Hotel Transylvania 2, sequel, obviously, to the first Hotel Transylvania. I saw the original one on DVD, just kind of rented it one day to check it out, and I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was actually really funny and fairly original with its jokes. It has a lot of the classic monsters, like Frankenstein's monster. You got Dracula with Adam Sandler playing that part. And then you got the Mummy, and Werewolf, and Invisible Man, and all played by really great, funny people. And it works really well for the first movie. And the second movie takes off from where the first movie left off, where his daughter has fallen in love with a human, and they're married, and now they've had a baby. And it does this kind of fun kind of story of a grandpa being nervous about his grandchild, and how is his grandchild going to end up? And for him, is his grandchild going to be human or a vampire? So that's going on, while it's also kind of some fish out of water stuff where his daughter goes and visits her husband's human town of Santa Rosa, California,
Nice.
And and there's a lot of funny jokes. It's funny. It's fast paced. It's goofy. Nothing like serious, but I think it was done really well. And if you're looking for a funny thing to kind of pass the time, I think adults or kids are both gonna enjoy it.
All I could think of the whole time you were talking about it is like, should I go with the Bela Lugosi scale or the Count from Sesame Street? How many, like, do we count or do we go blah, blah, blah? How many blahs is it? Is it like 5 blahs or
That's funny
3
because in
blahs?
the movie he jokes that he doesn't go blah blah blah, and even the baby's like blah blah blah, and he's like I don't go blah blah blah.
That's funny. So, okay. So it is October. I acknowledge this fact. This is not my favorite month in the world. I don't mind Halloween. That's fine. I am just not a horror movie fan. I don't go to the horror stuff, the events at theme parks. Not for me. I am a straight up yellow chicken when it comes to this stuff. So I do like the ironic stuff, but if they're comedies and stuff like that, I can handle it. But so speaking of which, there's a great new show out by the almighty Ryan Murphy, who's literally taking over television. I think he realized that Chuck Lorre had too much power at CBS, and he needed to keep going with his series. Because let's count it: we have Glee, we have American Horror Story. Oh, he started out with Nip and Tuck.
Mm-hmm.
So, American Horror Story, and now, since he's doing a serious horror show, he's got to do a comedy one, right? Because he just came off of Glee.
Yep.
So this is Scream Queens. And you can't do a Scream Queen movie without the Scream Queen herself. Miss Second Generation Jamie Lee Curtis, second generation to her mother Janet Leigh, who was the shower lady in Psycho. I think this show is great. It's a lot of fun. It's really fast paced with this comedy, which is great for me because I'm a comedy nerd when it comes to that stuff, and it's really. I mean, he laughs nonstop in this show.
Yeah,
like
I love it.
it's right up his comedy alley, and I think it's really great. A lot of fun. Emma Roberts, you might have, if you don't know who she is, she's Julia Roberts' niece. She was. This is her second horror thing that I know of. She might have been in one. No, she was in American Horror Story. That's right. See, I don't watch. Like I said, I'm not a serious horror guy. That is not my show. But she also was in Scream 4, so she's got her cred when it comes to horror stuff. Just way over the top, silly. I mean, if you go to Shaun of the Dead, think the American version of it, because that's kind of how far over the top this stuff is. It's just with a sorority house, and if you see, I mean, I'm trying to think of like the kind of comedy. How would you compare it to? Like maybe Clueless a little bit. It's that kind of level of where it's not high school, it's college, but it's that level of like Legally Blonde-ish, Clueless.
Yeah.
A little bit. I'm trying to think of other examples of that kind of like really fast paced kind of.
Yeah, I'd say kind of Clueless-ish. A little bit of Scream.
Maybe Mean Girls. Some of Mean Girls.
Yeah, definitely Mean Girls. Yeah, it's definitely like that kind of comedy mixed with like Scream.
Even like Heathers a little bit, maybe, but not as subversive, but that dark humor that's school based. Even Jawbreaker. You remember that one?
Yeah.
Yes,
Jawbreaker. Definitely Jawbreaker.
Jawbreaker's another good, but this one, where Jawbreaker was like kind of ironic with its let's be a serial killer. This one is a horror movie version of it. Like there's every kind of horror aspect. It's like you're watching a horror movie even though it's a TV show. It takes that kind of ironic take on it where it's almost a wink sometimes that yes, this is like a horror type deal.
It gets ridiculous at times, but it's still seriously fun.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's a good way to say it. Now, we actually recently made up a Excel document, which I don't have on me right now, but my wife loves Excel. Let me just pause and say that. Pause for the cause of Excel. But we made up an Excel document of all the horror movies we wanted to watch this month. My wife, we haven't really executed it all the time, but we wanted to do a seasonal movie thing. Yeah, it's over there. It's on the bookshelf. I'm literally giving him directions. I don't know why. But to literally do seasonal movies. So, July 4th, you watch those. And I've actually tried to do that, like Memorial Day. I will watch either Band of Brothers or Saving Private Ryan. So that's my kind of go-tos, those two. Stuff like that. So, yeah, we have this. I guess I'm supposed to read this now because he handed it to me.
Well, you don't have to read
We
it,
have
but
American Werewolf in
some of the type
London.
of movies.
I'll just skip it around. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there's another routine kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods, which is one that I can watch. That's a good one. Well, let's go to the one that we just watched and you're going to talk about. Hocus Pocus, the Disney comedy / horror movie starring Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved that movie when I was a kid. When that came out, I was in 4th grade, I think. Yeah, I was in 4th grade. And I thought that movie was just, like, awesome when I was a kid. And then kind of didn't think much about it until, like, I want to say, like, the last, like, 5 years. It's all of a sudden become, like, this big thing now. Like, every Halloween, ABC Family shows it, like, 90 times.
Yeah, they're doing this year at Disney's Not So Scary. They actually brought those 3 characters to be the main characters of the show. So, have they done that before? Or is this the first time? So this is the first year it's kind of a maybe that people like were looking through their DVD collection at Disney and they were like, oh, what about this one? So they brought it back. So
yeah, it's kind of this big retro thing. Like everyone's just like really loving it all of a sudden the last few years, and yeah,
it's a big, silly, funny. Obviously, what you'd expect out of a Disney kind of Halloween thing. Also, Thora Birch, if you know her, she's the kid in it, the kid sister to the teenage brother, which I haven't seen him since. I actually had never seen said movie. We watched it though recently, and it was very cute, very what I would expected it from what I'd seen of it. What I expected to be. It's a lot of fun, cute Disney Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Now watch while I bring this back, okay? And speaking of Disney and Halloween, I love talking about this movie. I love telling people about this movie. Literally, they don't even have to watch it. I just like telling them about it because just to say Disney horror movie, right? Those two words obviously are ironic, juxtaposition, weird combo. And this is far from what we were talking about with Hocus Pocus. This is a movie that came out in 1983. It is based on a Ray Bradbury novel. And I love it to death. I watched it in junior high. For some reason, it was like a day that the teacher didn't want to do any work, or it was towards the end of the school year, and there really wasn't anything to teach. So he put on the VHS, and we watched it, and it is amazing. This movie is so good. Legitimate actors, really well done. I honestly don't know who directed it, but I don't know that he's done anything else. But it stars Jonathan Pryce, who any modern Disney fans will know as Elizabeth Swann's father from the Pirates of the Caribbean. But he's not the old, like, slightly large man. He's this thin, rail thin. Imagine what you see in the Joker. He's like that skinny at this point. Just imagine a guy with like basically tails, like I think he's got like the 2 tails and just like black and the top hat and the beard, and he's just this really thin, creepy figure. And the whole thing is about these 2 boys. One has a family. One has daddy issues because his dad ran away, and they're best friends. And for some reason, in this little Illinois town, a carnival comes in October. Now, and it sounds weird now, maybe because you don't think about it, but carnivals come in the summer. And this is a little, really small town, like one main street town. And so for there to be this thing, it's a big, strange fascination that there's. So the boys investigate. Of course, they sneak out and got to see what's going on with this carnival. And boy, is it creepy. You have Pam Grier, known for all the blaxploitation films, and Jackie Brown, Quentin Tarantino, Jackie Brown. She's the weird spider lady, and I just don't know. Jason Robards is the one boy who has the family's father, and he's that one kid who has the really older parents. There's always one of those, and that plays into the family drama there too. But just a great thing. It's like it's kind of Twilight Zoning, I guess, in a way, because this Twilight Zones were always kind of parables or fables in a way. So that aspect is in this movie. They just have 3 characters that have this kind of experience with the carnival that's kind of like a fable-like thing. I highly recommend tracking it down. I still have it on DVD. I have no idea what the status is. I think it's been on Netflix at times, but it's definitely worth checking out. It's called Something Wicked This Way Comes. You probably can find it fairly cheap online. When I bought it originally on VHS, like Disney had even didn't even have the rights to it anymore, or they had let it go because I bought it from this Anchor Bay or something like that. Yeah. So they picked it up, and thankfully, I thanked them because I got to see the movie again. So highly recommend this. It's creepy. That's where I can handle it. I don't want to see like dismemberment, Hostel, Saw, that kind of stuff. Or the really stuff I don't want to see is the supernatural possession and stuff. That's definitely not my thing. Chris can tell you I don't even watch the trailers. Yeah, it's just great. I don't know my favorite. There's one scene I will spoil. There's the parade, the carnival parade. They're coming through, and they're like doing what would normally be like a circus type parade. They're coming through the town, right? And then at one point, they just the Professor Dark, who has a cane, just like leads them, and they all stop and slow. And they've got like this dirge, this funeral like creepy music, and that's one of my favorite. I just love that juxtaposition. This is so great. Like just can't highly recommend more tracking down. This is a gem that I like finding these little movies that I like nobody knows about, so that I can actually share them with people. So that's me doing this right now with you guys. Hunt this movie down, check it out. It's called Something Wicked This Way Comes. Which, if you don't know the origin of that, you didn't listen to the Shakespeare that you heard in school. That's from Macbeth. But it's not from Harry Potter, for those of you guys that think it's from Harry Potter. It's the 3 witches of Macbeth, and they say, by the pricking of my thumb, something wicked this way comes. But highly recommend it. It's so good. There is a book. I know it's a lot different, and the changes that they made in the movie, to me, sound very positive. So I don't know if I recommend the book as much as I recommend the movie, but definitely check it out. It is worth it. Is there anything you wanted to say that you remembered about that movie?
I enjoyed it.
It's been a while, right?
Yeah, I originally first saw it in high school, my freshman year of high school, because I came across the book because I was into Ray Bradbury at that time.
I got to meet him.
Martian Chronicles and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like to say that I actually got to meet him. That was fun.
And that's cool. I read the book, and then I saw the movie at like Blockbuster back when there were Blockbusters. And so of course I rented it, and yeah, it's definitely different, but I enjoyed both of them in their own way. And I think, if you have, a teenage kid or even a middle school kid, and they like reading, something that's a little spooky, but you don't want to give them like Stephen King yet. Yeah, I definitely think it will. Yeah,
this is a good step up, like for after Potter, maybe another Potterish type thing. It's definitely not in England. There's a lot of different stuff. It's an American story, but it's a good old-fashioned creepy type story, like ghost story. But it's the kind of story that you would tell around the fire. It's that good, really good story. So I think that's going to be it for now. We will be talking about more Halloween stuff later. I saved some stuff. I almost said it on here, but I'm going to save it. I'll tease it. I'll talk about it later on another show. That's it for me and Chris. Thanks for listening. Have a good Halloween.